Good afternoon. You're watching us here on Halftime Report, and it's becoming clearer that it might just be Donald Trump who might return to the White House for another 4 years, as he has won some key battleground states as well, be it Georgia and North Carolina as well. The markets continue to do well. The Nifty is now above that mark of 24,400. It's the Nifty Bank weekly expiry today, and also the recent highs of 24,498 on the Nifty that we need to keep an eye out for. But corporate earnings continue for our own markets as well, and the management we're going to speak to is Wonderla Holidays, and the company reported a weak second quarter. It was a seasonally weak quarter as expected. The quarter was further impacted, of course, by excess rains as well. Arun Chittilapilli, who is the managing director of the company, who is joining us on the show. Arun, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in. There's a seasonally weak quarter for you, but have footfalls recovered in the third quarter with the rains receding, the festive days that we have had? How have footfalls been this quarter so far, and what's your target for the rest of the year?
Thanks for having me on the show. Always a pleasure. Yeah, so last quarter, as you know, we had a lot of weather events that happened, and then obviously that affected our footfalls. There were floods in most of southern part of the country, so most of our parks were affected, with the exception of Bangalore. But this quarter is looking more promising with the festive season starting with Dasara and Diwali. We've seen a good rebound in footfalls, and we hope that it will continue. But there are also unseasonal rains happening, especially in Bhubaneswar and in Bangalore as well. So it's hard to predict how numbers will pan out, but we are hoping to do better than last year's numbers.
Already, you're hoping to do better than last year's. I mean, just to put something into perspective, the first half, you have about 1.5 million in terms of footfalls, Arun, and the full year last year was close to 3.25 million. Just wanted to know, with Bhubaneswar coming on stream, etc., what is it that you're penciling in for the full year in terms of footfall growth? And also, Bhubaneswar alone did about 1 lakh footfalls in its first full quarter of operations. What are you penciling in the second half from Bhubaneswar?
See, Bhubaneswar, we are expecting to do roughly about 3 to 3.5 lakh visitors in our first year.
Okay.
The rest of the parks, I think we might see a slight decline in numbers compared to last year, but the hope is that we should be able to claw back some of the footfalls in Q3, and maybe in Q4 anyway. It's not a very big quarter for us, so we're hoping that Q4 we will also do better than last year, and we should be able to claw back some footfalls.
So if you could give us a number, maybe are you looking at a single-digit decline, mid-single, high single, probably double?
I mean, yeah, maybe single digit decline, or maybe like a flat is what we are hoping.
Okay.
Arun, you mentioned that your Chennai park is scheduled to open in FY26. Are you on course for that? And you had also plans to open parks in Madhya Pradesh, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh as well. What's the status on that?
Yeah, so our Chennai project should be coming on stream by end of next financial year. We are hoping to be ready by December or January of 2026.
Right.
So that is the plan. Then Madhya Pradesh and a couple of other projects it's in the pipeline. We will be hopefully announcing that as soon as we have confirmation from the respective state government.
Right. Arun, on Bhubaneswar, earlier I remember you had said it will be around 5 to 6 lakh footfalls in the first year. That's come down to around 3.5. Does that impact the operational performance? And when you're expecting a decline in footfalls, what's your projection for the revenue? Because your ARPUs have been going up. What do we look at in terms of reported revenue for this year versus last year?
So, Bhubaneswar Park, we are expecting a footfall of roughly 7 lakhs, but only in the third or fourth year. So when we start, this is the first year of operation, we are not expecting that 5 or 6 lakhs. We are expecting between 3 and 4 lakhs, and I think we should be able to hit that number. And in terms of revenues, I mean, we are having an ARPU of roughly about 1,100 to 1,200. So I think we should, you can do the math. But that's the kind of numbers that we're looking at. And also, please remember that we've not got the full year of operations. We've just started, so it's only been a full quarter. So it's still very new for us.
For the revenue, I was asking for the entire company. Will you? What is the revenue projection for the entire company when the footfalls are likely to be flat or a mild decline?
I can't give you the revenue projections in that sense. We don't have numbers, especially in a year where we are seeing unseasonal rain. But I think we should be hopefully doing better than last year. That's what we are gunning.
What's your target for the average revenue per visitor, Arun? At the end of the first half, it stood at close to around 1,600 rupees. What's your target for the full year?
I think we should do maybe 4 to 5% growth in ARPU for the remainder of the year. We have already grown by, I think, about 4% compared to last year in terms of ARPU. We should be able to maintain that or slightly improve it.
All right. So largely revenue would be flattish, right? If the ARPU is seen a 4 to 5% sort of jump and a decline of about 0 to 2% in your footfalls. Your ticketing, non-ticketing mix at the first half, it stands at 75-25. Where does it go? And what are the margin levers that you have for this year? What should one look at?
So for this year, I think we are looking at a slight improvement in our mix of ticket to non-ticket revenues. We can expect maybe 2-3 percentage points improvement in our non-ticket revenue contribution to the revenue. So with all that, I think we should be able to do better than last year in terms of revenues. Of course, Bhubaneswar numbers will come on top of that, and if there is no footfall decline in the other parks, I think we should obviously have some revenue growth from Bhubaneswar.
No, reported EBITDA was negative in the second quarter. Just wanted to know what is the kind of margin that you're working with for this year, because you had already guided for a bit of a decline in the margins this year because of increased expenses on account of Bhubaneswar and all the other parks that you're spending on right now. So for this year, what's the kind of margin that we should be working with?
Correct. Again, it's hard for me to give a prediction on the margins because it depends on the capex and also some of the metrics in terms of operations and footfalls that are going to come to us. So it's hard to give us a revenue or a margin prediction for this year, especially because we have just opened a new park as well. But we can expect a mild decline compared to last year for a whole year when you look at the whole year.
All right, Arun, thank you so much for joining in, sharing with us for the views on the quarter gone by. Wish you good luck for the rest of the financial year. Time for a short break. We focus on the markets on the other side with the F&O setup as well as some more market views. Stay tuned.
Well, as it's getting clearer that the victory is, of Donald Trump's in the US, the markets are getting over that uncertainty hump, and the Nifty is already moving higher, 210 points for the frontline index, including yesterday's gains from the lows. The Nifty is up around 350 points from yesterday's low itself, and 1,500 points from yesterday's low for the Nifty Bank. And it's an important day of trade because, one, indices are higher. Secondly, the market breadth is favoring gainers and how. We have nearly 4 stocks which are advancing for every 1 stock which is declining in the broader markets. And as, things get clearer, the India VIX as well, which at one point was up by almost 20%, has seen a sharp decline. It's sub 15 now. So that's telling you there is a fair amount of put writing which is taking place as well. For the Nifty Bank, the index that we need to watch out for today, it is in the middle of that 52,000 to 52,500 zone. Why do I say that? Because 52,500 call writers are fairly active. At the lower level, 52,000 put writers are fairly active as well. So the Nifty Bank is right in the middle of that zone as we speak right now. For the Nifty, a lot of put writing has taken place at the 24,300 mark, at the 24,400 mark, telling you that there is a fair amount of support at the lower levels. Though for it to formidably see a fair amount of short covering, maybe we need to cross past that earlier hump of that 24,500 mark as well, because 24,400 call writers and the 24,500 call writers are both still fairly active in trade. At the lower level, now the recent lows of yesterday and day before yesterday have become extremely crucial levels to track in terms of support. The one stock that I'm watching out for uncharacteristically high up move is what we're seeing on Dixon Tech. And there is a fair amount of short covering on that stock as well, because the open interest decline has been as much as the up move that we've seen on the stock itself. So maybe shorts getting squeezed out at Dixon Tech.
Indeed, the stock also making new highs as well, right? Is Dixon Technologies. We keep an eye out on that. Is of course the Nifty Bank weekly expiry as well. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you more on the market. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Halftime Report. Getting closer to 270 is Donald Trump. We are waiting for the address to his supporters any time from now. The market's also continuing to move towards the highs of the day. The Nifty now nearing 24,450. Very close to last week's high of 24,498. That's the level to watch out for on the index. The Nifty Bank now around about 200 points higher, nearing levels of 52,400 as well as the weekly expiry for the Nifty Bank. But the broader markets are the ones that are doing well today. The mid-cap index and the small-cap index both trading with gains of 1.5% each. And some movers within the broader markets. Piramal Pharma, that stock is up 10% in today's session. The top gainer on the small-cap index is Piramal Pharma, and it's gained in almost 7 out of the last 9 trading sessions has Piramal Pharma. So good move there, now above 300. And another earnings reaction that is coming in is CCL Products. At one point was up almost 9.5%, slightly off the highs of the day, but still trading with gains of 9.5%, currently nearing levels of 750. Another earnings reaction though is Dr. Reddy's, and that's doing well today on the back of a mixed second quarter. Profits and margins were a miss, while the Indian and the emerging market business showed strong growth. Earlier today, we spoke to Erez Israeli, who is the CEO of the company, on the outlook for the coming quarters.
We are growing. We actually grow in all markets. We are growing double digit in actually most markets besides one that grew in 9%. So very healthy growth, including North America. This is including Revlimid. It's include also the base product. And this phenomenon are likely to continue. The consistency in the performance that you saw in the last quarter, also this quarter, likely to continue also in the next quarters to come. The base business, or all the products it's not including Revlimid, the generic Revlimid, is growing by 2 parts. One is the growth in market share, and the second is the growth that comes out of launches of new products. I'm assuming that we mean the same in that respect. So likely that we are going to see that growth coming, and it's not just in the US but also in the other products. So as for the mark, we can absolutely guide that outside of the Revlimid, we will grow double digit also in next quarter to come. We made in this quarter 2 important moves. One, we closed the deal with Nestle to build a leading nutraceutical business in India. And the second one, we closed the deal with Helion to acquire their nicotine replacement.
All right. Interesting, important news flash just coming in. The NBC has called the key state of Pennsylvania in favor of Donald Trump. Remember, among all the 7 swing states, Pennsylvania has the highest number of seats. And as a result of which, this big swing state all but seals the deal for the entire country in favor of Donald Trump itself. CNN projections calling Donald Trump winning in Pennsylvania is big news. Remember, moments ago, we got Fox talk about that as well. But now, increasingly, we do have more media houses projecting a clear win in Pennsylvania for Trump, the biggest swing state that we have of all. 51% vote share out there. And the market's reacting to that, not only here, but if you look at the Dow futures too, up almost 716 points as we speak. Take a short break. On the other side, we'll focus on Tata Steel ahead of their second quarter numbers. Stay tuned. The market continues to do well, but meanwhile, you need to keep an eye out on a couple of earnings that are coming by as well. And today, it is Tata Steel, which is set to report its second quarter numbers. Important to watch out for the management commentary and what they have to speak about demand in the second half of this year. Let's go across to Nigel, who's standing by with all the details. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Tata Steel's numbers are expected, and normally it keeps me a little late today, so it should be at around 7:30 or thereabouts, because the con call actually is expected tomorrow. What are the factors at play? Well, as we know, for Tata Steel itself, the realizations will be weak, both in India as well as in the overseas market. It's going to be weak. So let's run you through first the basic numbers. Top line degrowth of around 4%. EBITDA number on a year-on-year basis on a low base could come in high by close to around 17%. And this time around, it'll be a profit in comparison to a loss. But keep in mind, in the base year, there was a one-time hit in terms of restructuring and other provisions. The provisional sales volumes numbers we already have with us. So India was up by close to around 5.5% to around 6%. The Netherlands business had bounced back. Remember, it had a maintenance shutdown. They were doing the realignment of the blast furnace, which has come back up. So that explains that. And in UK, they're winding down the business, which explains the degrowth out there. The key number you need to look at for Tata Steel is going to be the geographic breakup. That's a standalone EBITDA per ton. We are working with a number of from 11,800 rupees on a per ton basis. And for Europe, we are working with a negative $70 per ton. So Europe will be split into the UK business, which will continue to struggle, while Netherlands should deliver a profitable EBITDA like we saw in the last quarter. Realizations will be weak. There won't be operating leverage that comes in the UK business. But what will help them is coking coal costs have softened, and they'll get some part of that benefit in the past quarter as well. The key things to look forward to is how are they going to be ramping up the Orissa expansion? That's going to be point number one. How are demand trends that are panning out? Have they heard anything with regard to some anti-dumping duty? And the deleveraging plans, because the last few quarters we have seen the net debt number move up. So keep an eye out on this one, Tata Steel. Numbers will be important, but commentary even more important.
Commentary even more important, Nigel. Thanks a lot for that. The stock recovering as we speak from the lows of the day. The one of the three Nifty results to watch out for later today. Time for a short break. On the other side, Manisha Gupta joins in with Pranjal Agrawal, the India market head of Mudrex, to focus on the surge in the Bitcoin prices. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Pranjal Agrawal, India market head for Mudrex. Pranjal, hi, thank you so much for joining us, and someday to celebrate for you guys as well as a crypto community, because we've seen Bitcoin trade at an all-time highs. And while, of course, we do see that Donald Trump is seen as pro-crypto, but this also has been an important year, a 16th year, by the way. And we also have seen Bitcoin ETFs, more institutional investments come into this one. And even as a policy perhaps is still far away, not impossible is what the street says.
Yeah, thank you, Manisha. Thank you for welcoming me here. We were predicting this, speculating this to happen since the exit polls were showing Trump winning the election, and about 93 million individuals in United States hold crypto, which is about 40% of adult population, and that was a sign where people have shown in the elections. Also, crypto became an important piece of the election, where Trump, along with Elon Musk, who was supporting crypto, and the markets are showing similar run. And the great part about this run is that it is not being driven by just retail investors, but it is being driven by institutional investors. About 8 of the 10 largest global banks of the world today have large Bitcoin holdings, and they are increasing with this. And with this all-time high of 75,400, I think the markets will soon be more and more positive. We expect about 100K run this year. We've been waiting for this since long. So that's the idea. In terms of India, the interest is rising. People are coming in, but regulators are taking it very carefully. They are dealing it. They're going a little slow. They are waiting for the world to come up with policies and then to adopt. And that's how it is with India.
Oh, well, absolutely. Pranjal, I was coming to India as well. As you said, India is still watching, waiting on what the world does and perhaps then take a next step. But we do understand that whether it's about Trump or if it is about Elon Musk as well, they both have been pro-cryptos. We've seen various cryptocurrencies being launched, talked about as well. My question being that, do you see a policy coming in this year, or would that be too early to call?
Policy in India, I think it's too early to call. Still our regulators, they've taken a lot of inputs from us, from all the community, but they're being a little, little doubtful about how the world's gonna deal with it. And since the nature of crypto, it's operable, it moves throughout across geos and across boundaries. So it gets really tough for us in India to, immediately make a policy. I empathize with the policymakers also, because it's not an easy task with the kind of economy that we have to, get it in. What I have what I'm positive about next year, positively in the first quarter, at least some legislation or policy around trading in crypto should come, because we've seen the volumes go, beyond the roof. They are, soon they're gonna be touching Nifty levels in the next 2 years, and without proper policy in place or legislation, regulation in place, it's not in the investors or a trader's interest.
Absolutely. Pranjal, you talked about the US markets really, on how 93 million people are invested, which is 40% of the adult population. When it comes to the Indian markets, what are those numbers looking like right now? We do understand that the numbers did decline after those very heavy taxes that were imposed. Where do we stand at this point?
See, there's no number for India yet. Everybody is a little confused on the right number. But what the community feels, because see, crypto is a lot of DEX and a lot of decentralized, where no KYCs are being done, a lot of international exchanges that are being used by people. That's why it's difficult to predict a number. But what the community feels is there are about 30 million crypto users today in India. And in terms of active traders, I think on a monthly basis, there are 1 million active traders who are trading actively in cryptocurrencies in India today.
All right, that's a vast difference. 30 million perhaps hold crypto in some sense, but active users are only about at 1 million there. Also, Pranjal, how would you react to on what we've seen as a knee-jerk reaction come in today? On one side, we've seen the dollar index gain. On the other side, well, while the gold and silver prices, which are seen as safe havens, have declined sharply, the Bitcoin has surged. Would you call this as a knee-jerk reaction, or would you say there is more meat in this and we might be looking at sustained moves?
I think there's a lot of meat in this. The prices might go down like 4 to 5% after this the sudden hike, but this is gonna go up. And the reason behind this is the positive policy reforms expected in United States. And since the United States has been driving policy for all new innovations, technologies, they have been at the forefront of it. The world looks forward to them to make these policies, and then, accordingly, the different countries adopt.
Right.
So that